All right, now what I would love to do next is combine our two images, our clouds and our statue as well. So here's what I'm going to do. I really don't like this whole tabbed document interface. It's just a personal thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head up to the application bar all the way up at the top of the interface to this Arrange Documents dropdown. And what I'm going to do is simply choose Float All in Windows. And now I get something like this, which is a little bit easier to work with. All right, now essentially what I want to do, and I hope this makes sense, is I want to take the clouds and I simply want to drag them into or move them into the statue photo or the statue image, right? What I'll get you to do before we actually get going with this is make sure that you're on your Move tool inside your toolbox. And then as far as actually getting the clouds over into the statue image, I'm just going to kind of give us sort of a side-by-side here. We actually have a couple of different options, a couple of different methods for pulling this off, and I'll show you those methods here. First of all, and probably the easiest method, is to make sure that the image that you want to move, in other words, the clouds, is the active window. In other words, you're clicked inside this window. It's the active window inside Photoshop. And all I'm going to do is click inside the clouds and drag over onto the statue, something like this. Now, notice the black border that shows up around my statue image, indicating that I'm about to drop my clouds into my statue. I'll let go of my mouse, and that's all there is to it. Now, here's the cool part. I'm just going to move my statue back over here for a second, pull my clouds out of the way. Make sure you're inside your statue image now, and have a look over inside your layers palette. We still have that background layer, but now we have a new layer, which is called Layer 1, and I can see inside that thumbnail, we have clouds. A couple of things here. First of all, moving an image over into another image is a simple matter of clicking and dragging, right? The second thing is, as I move an image over into another file or another image window inside Photoshop, what happens is Photoshop automatically creates a new layer for me inside that image's layers panel. I hope that makes sense. So in other words, if I go back to the original clouds here in the background, have a look at the layers panel there, it's just a flattened image. It's just a background image, right? All right, I hope that makes sense. Now, I mentioned that there were a couple of different ways to move images between one another, right? And this was the easiest method, or the simplest method, simply clicking and dragging with the Move tool. Let me show you another method. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head back to my statue.jpg, and all I'm going to do is undo one step. So I could use my history panel, I suppose, or I should be able to head up to the Edit menu and simply choose Undo Drag Layer. All right, that brings me all the way back to where I started. Now, here's another method for combining images or moving photos into other images. I'm going to go back to my clouds file, clouds.jpg, and this time, instead of dragging from the image window, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the layers palette, and there's my clouds background layer, and all I'm going to do is grab that layer and drag and drop them over into the statue image, something like this. All right, now what you and I get is pretty much exactly what we got previously. It's just a different method. Of course, over inside the layers palette now, I see again layer 1 and that background statue layer. Okay, perfect. Now, next up, what I'll do here is I'll close out of clouds.jpg. We don't need him anymore. And I'm going to head back to my regular old statue here. Here we are. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to show you inside the layers palette in terms of rearranging your layers and converting that background layer into a regular layer, and we'll see how to do that next.